Hey, fabulous listener. If you want to become a powerful and profitable trauma-informed coach, my business partner, Kushla, and I have a special free 5-day training starting next Monday, April 29th. To join us, you can simply message me the word powerful at Erin Anderson Trauma Coach on Instagram, or on Facebook, you can find me at Erin Anderson Betrayal Trauma Coaching, and we'll send you the details so you can join us. We're going to be sharing some special training on our body, mind, energy approach to help clients have faster shifts and healing, and how we make a consistent 5 figures each month as trauma-informed coaches. So if that sounds like something you or someone you know may like, make sure you come join us for this 5-day challenge. We're going to be sharing more in there than most paid programs. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Other Side of the Struggle. Guys, I'm really excited about this episode today. I have with me Cheryl Bannerman. And Cheryl Bannerman is a prolific and versatile author with a portfolio of 10 published works across various genres, including mystery novels, a children's book. I totally love this because she does a lot of things that I want to do here. I'm just going to be honest. In 2018, she received the prestigious 2018 Book Excellence Award for her poetry collection, Words Never Spoken. And in 2020, Bannerman's book, Black Child to Black Woman, an African American Woman Coming of Age Story, garnered acclaim, winning the Best Books Award in African American Fiction and the Reader's Favorite International Book Award Contest in Urban Fiction 2021. And readers can really connect with Cheryl Bannerman's work. You can purchase signed copies of her books, subscribe to her newsletter through her website, bannermanbooks.com. And when she's not writing for her next book, she is running her 28-year-old virtual B2B training and development company based out of her Orlando, Florida home. So I'm really excited, you guys, because Cheryl has quite a history. She's got quite a story. She's been sharing a little bit of it with me. And she can definitely connect with you, wonderful people, my beautiful, beautiful audience, because she understands betrayal. She understands, the mild, medium, and the jalapeno, which we talk about quite a bit on this podcast. And she definitely understands. One of the things that we talk about a lot is, how healing writing can be when you are going through just some really difficult relationships. And so I'm really excited to have her on the podcast with me today. So welcome, Cheryl.
Hi, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm really excited for this. Truly, I am, because you've been talking about breaking the silence, and when speaking isn't safe, because in your situation, and without getting into a ton of detail, that was something that you definitely weren't allowed to do, right? And so when you started writing your books and you started writing and journaling and getting it out is a way for you to break the silence, correct?
Yes, once I finally got out, that's when I wrote my first journal, Words Never Spoken. So it was definitely healing. And I would say up to that point, journaling was a big part of getting those feelings and thoughts down on paper to kind of validate what I was feeling. And so I would encourage everyone, to take advantage of journaling. You could do it anywhere. Of course you have to keep it safe, but you
Right,
can do it anywhere at any time.
right, right. Absolutely. And I will say, that was definitely one of my most powerful tools, just journaling. Like for me, it was letters to God, right? I
Right.
would write down my
I love
letters to
that.
God, and it was awesome. Like Non-judgmental. I may or may not have asked for a few lightning bolts to strike a few people before, but wringing my hands and maybe a little bit of guilt, but it is what it is. And the thing is you can just literally write down whatever comes to your mind, pour it out to God. And the thing I loved about it is the journal kind of became like a source of love and wisdom for
Mm-hmm.
me, because after I was done writing it all out, I finally had this ability to hear
Mm-hmm.
and receive answers, receive wisdom, and I would write them down
Right.
as a response back from God,
Mm.
right?
I
So
love that.
that was my journaling process. I'd love to hear about yours. Like,
Mm.
you talk about your writing process a little bit, and how does that help? How did it help you, and how does it help your clients?
Um, my writing process, whether I'm journaling or writing poetry, is very similar. So, a lot of people, they like music, they like to be in a formal setting. I kind of lean more towards hand writing with a pen and paper
Mm-hmm.
and curling up in bed or on the couch. I just find it's a little more, for me, I can definitely relax more and it doesn't feel as formal as typing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of focus on exactly what is hurting. When I was in that situation, what did I feel the most pain from? It's easy to write poetry when you're going through something.
Yeah.
If you're not going through something, then you have to think about what what gets you up in the morning. What are you passionate about? It could be a cause that you're very dear to. It's very near and dear to your heart, that you advocate for, and you can write about that. But in an abusive relationship or situation, you want to focus on the pain. My pain for me mostly came from emotions, verbiage that was negative about me that my mind was believing.
Mm.
And so I was programmed to believe that I was worthless.
Mm.
Nobody would want me because of my medical conditions. Uh, I was fat, ugly, whatever, you name it.
And you're so gorgeous too. Like, definitely
Oh,
not
thank
something
you.
that would have. It's true.
It's so funny, but once you're reprogrammed, especially
Yeah.
after a decade, it's pretty much etched in your brain as true.
Yeah.
Um, so that's what I pulled, and I wrote about how that hurt me, and how I wanted to believe better about myself. It was definitely a lot of reprogramming that had to happen after I
Yeah.
got it, especially, doing one-on-one counseling
Hmm.
was very important. But it's a reprogramming that you have to do.
It absolutely is. And you mentioned, it was different because you could type it out or but just taking the thoughts from your head and getting a pen and paper and writing
Yeah,
it out was so different. And the reason, like, so I went to school to be an elementary teacher, right? And here I am,
yeah,
I'm doing a podcast about healing from
yeah.
betrayal trauma, right? I get it. I get it. I totally get it. But the thing is one of the things I've learned when I was teaching was the importance between, the brain hand connection,
Yes.
right? And I see this nowadays with children who are trying to do all their homework and everything like that on a computer, and they're
Yes.
just like, it doesn't make sense. I don't get it.
Yes.
Right? And it's because they're not getting that brain to hand connection anymore. And the thing
So
is
true.
the brain actually in order to be able to organize actually needs the ability to write it down. And this
Yes.
is part of the reason why it's so healing is because, and it's so fast too, is
Yes.
because you're actually, as you heal, you're creating, or as you write, I should say, you're creating
Mhm.
space for your synapses to reconnect. You're creating space for the reorganization of thoughts. You're creating
Yes.
so much more space. And that's one of the things you absolutely need, when you're dealing with, those intrusive thoughts that you believe are true, it's like chaos up there. And the opposite of chaos is organization.
Exactly. That's right. And it's also about being heard. If you're putting it on paper, right, then that
Hmm.
validates it. That means that these are real. A lot of
Hmm.
times, you know the saying, why did you stay so long? I don't understand.
Yeah,
And that whole thing, I must have heard it a million times
I'm sure.
um, after. Even now to this day, like, when I talk about it, people are like, why'd you stay so long? I'm like, you just don't
You don't
understand.
get it.
It is, I
No.
mean, no. And so putting it on paper, allows you, like you said, to organize your thoughts and really validate what you're feeling.
And what you're going through.
Yeah.
And I also want to say, I think it also helps you finally start to realize truth,
Yeah.
because, you were talking about like those thoughts that you bought into,
Yeah.
that I'm not pretty enough, I'm not fat, like, or I am fat, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart
Exactly.
enough, I'm not enough, I'm not enough, I'm not enough, all of these things. And,
Right.
you know, I, I think every woman, today has to deal with that kind of stuff because we're told we have to look a certain way, we have to be a certain
Yeah.
way. And
Yes.
it's like all totally surface value stuff,
It is.
right?
That's why I don't spend, I really am calculated about how I spend my time on social media. I
Mm,
make sure that my feed is full of positive affirmations and religious quotes and
yeah.
nothing. I don't want to see, if somebody I follow posts something that I find, triggering or negative, I just unfollow so it doesn't show
Th-
up for me. So,
and I have to do the same thing. I absolutely do. And
yeah,
I will be honest, like I totally understand, when when you're saying like people are asking you like why didn't you leave? Well, duh, right? Like
right.
how?
You know
How?
how hard it is? Like,
Yes,
I mean,
how? But like there's still aspects I don't understand because I've never been through domestic violence, right?
yeah,
That being said, it's just that I do understand like, those intrusive thoughts,
yeah,
and like how the writing flips those intrusive thoughts into actually understanding that's a lie, you know? And I talk about like even affirmations are really hard for a lot of people because you've got that voice in the back of your head,
right.
that's constantly like, this isn't true, blah, 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 right? And it's like,
Yep.
you little bugger. And so affirmations oftentimes don't work for people because they haven't dealt with that. However, I feel like, when you get down and you actually write things out, there's a
Mhm.
couple of things that happen. One, you start to acknowledge actual truth because, like, honestly, are those like still thoughts that, and this is kind of a personal question, but are those still thoughts that you feel like you deal with? So how do you feel about boundaries? It's a legitimate question. a lot of people come to me really struggling with this concept. They often feel guilty for setting boundaries, or they're not sure about even what a boundary is. They've heard the term, set the boundary, things like that, but that's really confusing for them because it's not something that's well taught in our society nowadays, right? They know that boundaries are really important to having healthy, constructive, supportive, and wonderful relationships, but why? And oftentimes they also know that they feel like their boundaries are being violated, but they can't quite pinpoint what the boundary is that's being violated. That's why I've created the Clarifying and Creating Your Boundaries free PDF. You can find out what your boundaries are, how to tune in to what the boundary needs to be, and how to effectively create and communicate your boundary so that way you stay in this place that respects you, respects the other person, but also gives you the confidence in your boundaries so that way you stop being gaslighted, disrespected, and unseen. Having your boundaries really clear gives you a voice and also helps the other person stay in accountability with themselves. So that's not a role that you have to take on anymore. So if you are ready to really have clear boundaries, to really understand what your role is in the boundary, and to give yourself some safety and some protection against people that might try to gaslight you or are just being disrespectful, go grab my Creating and Clarifying Your Boundary PDF at erinandersonthetraumacoach.com. And while you're there, let's schedule a call with me. Come have a chat with me so that way I can really, really help you master this particular skill, creating boundaries, clarifying the boundary, communicating that boundary, and so that way I can also help you have relationships that show up to support you, cherish you, and love you.
I think only if I'm triggered, that type of thought comes back in my head. But no, it's I've reprogrammed myself. I have my confidence back. I'm the old Cheryl that I was before I went into that relationship. But yeah, sometimes it does rear its ugly head. Just to give an example, I was with a girlfriend. I had just met her, honestly, through a women's group. And we went to lunch, and she was talking about her beliefs and how she doesn't eat. Um, I think it was just everything. It was just, no meat, no pork. She was 100% vegan, and she also did not do dairy. And so I was like, well, I'm glad this is a great spot for you. They have a whole vegan menu. And so afterwards, I was going to walk next door. She had to go, but I was going to walk next door. There was an ice cream parlor, and
Ooh.
I wanted to, yes, and I wanted to get my dessert. And texted her that they had a whole, um, like vegan section that was also made with a coconut base that was not dairy, and it was homemade.
Oh,
And so yeah, and it was so good, by the way. I went,
yeah, you're making it like
I
I'm
got a
like,
pint to
where
go
is
home.
it? Oh my gosh.
So she responds, and by the way, I got digs about this throughout the entire meal, so it was not helpful. So she responds, well, thank you anyway, but I personally do not do dairy because of my beliefs, and it doesn't really matter what it's made with. And the reason why I don't have health problems and weight problems is because of my beliefs and how I treat my body. That was the whole. And so that was the whole meal, by the way. It was just all about shaming me for what I was eating, my fish tacos and yeah. So my horrible choices is why
Just tell me you're
she
not going out to dinner with her again.
oh my goodness, no. Oh,
Like, please no.
the next day she texted me, had a really great time. We should do that again. And I never even responded. I think the young kids call that ghosting. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Like, no.
So,
No, no, no,
yes,
no.
sometimes in life you will get a situation where you all of a sudden you have a flashback, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, maybe I am maybe I am ugly and fat,
Oh.
It's crazy. It's so crazy, but yeah, everybody has very strong beliefs
Oh, that's
today.
okay. That really, okay. That makes me mad. Oh, okay. Again. So, like, whoa. Like, seriously, just whoa. Um, I'm glad you're not going to dinner anymore with that person. Like, what the heck? But so, I mean, this is kind of brings in a good topic because, like, this is where we get out that journal again. You know what I mean? Like to reset ourselves because after, I mean, that brought up a lot of triggers. You personally
Right.
have been through a lot as a child, into marriage and in all these different places. So, what did you do after that? Like, how did you reset yourself?
So when I am triggered by any type of situation similar to that, I have to go back to what I call positive self-talk for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I look in the mirror and I start with my affirmations, like talking to myself. So, hey, look at you, looking great in that shirt today, feeling good, look how you're walking, you're not even, your knees not even hurting today, you're walking so good. And I try to encourage myself that way. So
Mm,
that's what I do for myself, and it just gets me right out of it. After about this time it took about 4 days to reverse what she did to me.
wow. And how, like, 4 days is, to someone, um, could be like a long time, but like to other people, that's like really, really fast, right?
Yeah.
It totally is. And so my next question is like, did you do any of the writing processes for that? Because I know, like, kind of like what we were talking about, like you get that voice in the back of your head, right? Like, did that show
Started
up?
writing a short story about it.
You changed the
She's
names,
going to be a
hopefully.
character in one of my books. You best
What?
believe. Yeah, just part of the character list of people who are overly critical and just insensitive and no empathy, right? No
Right.
social skills. It's okay when you're a kid, they blurt out anything they want, but as an adult, that's not acceptable.
Yeah, you got to definitely watch like what you say because you're supposed to have a little bit more awareness.
Yeah.
At least we would hope. Wow. Just just wow. Okay. Well, there we go. But I love the fact that you are putting her in a book. I've been told so I've been doing some writing and I've been told that when you use somebody in your books and things like that, and they behave like that, right? They've kind of waived their right of
When you
not
act like a
being.
character, you become
Yeah,
a character.
yes,
How's
exactly.
that?
Yeah, that's a good way to explain that. That's a really good way to explain that. Whew, okay. All right. So, you know, a lot of my listeners, they are women, whose husbands have cheated on them, you know, maybe they're going through pornography addiction, maybe they're going through just definitely some relationship dynamics happening.
Mhm,
And, there's also all of that self-belief that's being brought up. Like you said, the reason why it's triggering often is because of something we personally have experienced or gone through,
mhm.
and it comes to some type of a meaning for us, right? And that's not to downplay like what anybody goes through. Like anybody that's going to go through your situation is going to say, holy, bleepity bleep bleep, like this is hard, right? We don't swear on this podcast. Anyway, and the same thing, like for any woman that's going that her husband is looking at pornography or cheating on her or doing those things, that's hard. That's hard crap, you know? So
Yeah.
what can they do? Like what kind of a journaling process or what would you suggest to have them write out?
Well, everyone's going to write whatever they're going through, first of all. And I just want to address the first part of what you said, and how it's affecting me now. So there was pornography addiction, there was alcohol addiction, some drugs. Um, I would not only catch him almost every week on some type of dating site,
Oh, wow.
or sending images of himself to someone through a text message, or just plain a woman calling the house, um, and finding out, he had, done something with her.
Oh man.
So it was just constant. And this was during our dating, engagement, and marriage.
Wow.
So what I have realized from that is a couple of different things. And I'm jumping forward, then I'll jump back again. So the writing for me, through the journals that I have created for my readers, allows you to analyze things, whether it's your childhood versus something as an adult, and why you do the different things that you do. But that's what I've put down in my books to help readers today. For me, my father cheated on my mom a lot, and I had experienced it a couple of times when I came into full contact with the woman,
Oh
and
my gosh.
I flipped out.
Yeah.
So I guess it, held something for me, that was very close, that I
Mm.
experienced as a child and a preteen. And so all my relationships before him, I never experienced any type of cheating or anything like that. So this was the first time that this part of my past was triggered. And so for me, I had to, through counseling and a lot of different written activities that she helped me through, I was able to understand why that was triggering, because I hadn't even made the connection, with my childhood and this, with my dad and this. um, and why that was so upsetting, how it made me feel, and how I can combat those feelings,
Right.
right? Then you have to let go so that you don't apply it to your next relationship.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's that whole healing process. You got to go through it all. You got to
Yeah.
make the connection, understand the feelings, write out the
Yes.
feelings, right? It's a
Right.
long process because you don't want to take that stuff to your
No.
next relationship.
Well, you don't want to take that through life in
No,
general,
right.
right? Like,
Exactly.
let's just not do that. And the thing is like,
Yes.
you know, I love what you're saying is because when you started writing it down, and like getting that validation and starting to understand like your thought patterns and things like that, right?
Yes.
You also start to sit in the emotion. And one of the things that I tell people consistently is if you're going to heal from this, you can't run from the emotion. You can't like just consistently hold it forever either. So,
Yeah.
this is one of the reasons why I love the idea of journaling and writing things down is number one, it starts to give you a story to tell,
Right.
right? And how many times do we actually have stories that need to be told, right?
Yes.
And, you know, I,
Yeah.
for me personally, just telling my story, that's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing today, right? Because my story has been so prolific. Same with you, right? If we actually got in and told our stories, whoa, what a shift this
You
entire world would have, right?
you don't know what your story could is meant to be told for a
Hmm.
reason.
Hmm.
There are people that are listening that are like, "Oh my goodness, I thought I was the only one."
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
And that's the craziest thing. Like I hear this all the time from women is like, I thought I was alone. I thought
Yes,
I was alone. I thought I was
I
the
did
only
too.
one.
And
Right?
then when I started with the book promotion and
Hmm.
talking to readers, there are other people that have been through
Absolute
very
hell.
similar
Yeah.
situations.
Yeah. Yeah. And and I'll tell you, I chatted with a gal, and I can't share her entire story because it's number one, she hasn't given me permission to, but number two, like it's just freaking horrific. Let's just say it had a lot to do with satanic ritual abuse,
Wow.
right? And it was like, oh my gosh, so 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 bad.
Yeah.
And the thing is like even though like we're going through absolute hell,
Mhm.
there's also the people who are going through so much worse than what we have even
Yes,
experienced.
that's right.
And that's
That's
not to downplay our stories either, but just the simple fact, like, even though my story wasn't anywhere near as bad as hers,
right.
right? Nowhere even close. It's just my story was still so impactful for her because, you know, she basically said that it taught her how to turn back to God, right?
Hmm. And that
Because,
and
yeah,
that really leads me into my second part of the journal, which is a grateful journal. What are the
yeah,
things that I'm grateful for? You know,
yeah.
I recently last week I had a friend pass from
I'm so
cancer.
sorry.
She's a very dear friend, and I think about the pain that she was in, and she was going through it alone. She had no family support, and I say to myself, you're complaining about diabetes and your fibromyalgia pain. Look at what she's going through, chemo every single day. So it really makes you just stop and thank God. You know what? I'm
Mhm.
grateful for waking up this morning. Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm grateful. That's why I always bring in the fact that I can walk without my cane today. Like anything to do with my health, I try to bring that in
Mhm.
because some people are in a wheelchair and
Mhm.
can't walk, right? So I have to remember to be grateful because one thing you don't want to do is get a complaining heart. See, you don't want to complain,
Mhm.
oh, woe is me, why did I go through this? Why me, right? We have to focus on the positive and improvement.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah.
okay, I gotta say, um, there's a. Do you watch Have you watched The Chosen by any chance? I love it.
Yes.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yes, it
And
is.
Christ asked a very, very powerful question to one of
Mm-hmm.
his apostles, and it
Mm-hmm.
was, "Do you have the faith to not be healed?"
Mm. I remember that.
Right? Like I was like, my jaw
Very
drops. I'm
powerful.
like, what? Like,
Yes.
whoa, that stuck with me. And the thing is like his story was so like that apostle story was so powerful. And that's
Yes.
why, right? Here he is. He's crippled and he's still proclaiming
Yes.
with joy and gratitude and
Yes.
love. Like these are like the cornerstones, these are the keys to
Yes.
finding joy, to finding yourself, to understanding who
Yes.
you are. And and I'm not saying like, you know, do you have the faith to stay in that kind of a marriage or that relationship? I'm not saying that at all. No,
No.
no, no, no. Let's not even go there. But
No.
it's just that I do think sometimes do we have the faith not only
Mm-hmm.
to be healed,
Mm-hmm.
but to also be grateful for the thing that we're going through. You know,
Yes.
to just to give a little context to like
Mm-hmm.
um without sharing a ton, my family's going through one of the worst trials of our lives right
Mm-hmm.
now, right? It's hell in every shape
Mm-hmm.
and form. But I actually just did a post on this the other day about like how grateful I am for this trial. Even though what had happened, like I that never should have happened. It never should have been done. Um, but it's given me the ability to get closer to my kids. It's given me the ability to really connect with them,
Right.
to be open, to teach them about healing, to teach them deeper about God. We've had some really spiritual experiences. All of these things that wouldn't have happened had we not needed to turn,
Mm.
right? And we talk about like, turning the other cheek,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, when you do that, like just turning your cheek, it completely changes your focus.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And one of the things that I say is, um, what it was a horrible situation. First of all, what did I learn from it? Right? I learned a lot. I learned that I am very strong and that my faith in the Lord is very strong, and that's what got me through it.
Hmm.
I learned that I wasn't setting boundaries well. Um,
Well,
you know,
you probably couldn't set boundaries with this person either, to be
no,
honest.
from the very beginning.
Yeah. Oh,
So
okay, okay.
it's not like we don't see the red flags. We just ignore them.
Mm,
We see the red flags. Let's just be honest with ourselves. And so setting boundaries in relationships, whether it's family, friends, just like I cut that woman off, you
yeah,
know, you just
boundary.
do what you have to do to protect your mental health.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I wanted to say about turning the other cheek, um, and people to this day, they, they don't understand, but I never hated my ex-husband.
Yeah.
To this day, I still want him to be happy and healthy, and I pray for him with his addictions. And I love him. So we love each other in Christ. We don't hate.
Yeah.
I have no hard feelings. It was, my choice
True
when I
forgiveness.
walked in, when I walked into it. But when you see the first red flag, that's when you're supposed to set boundaries. You don't settle. You don't say, oh, no one else is going to come along or make any other excuse. You set your boundaries. If someone is doing something unacceptable, then you cut it, period.
Yeah.
And
Very
then
good.
all of this wouldn't have, happened. But I learned a lot and I took what God wanted me to learn, and I turned it into a positive.
Absolutely. And what a beautiful thing. And it's like I've said so many times, had I not gone through and still going through a lot of things,
Yes.
I would not have realized how deeply I needed God in my life, you know, and
And
how
this
deeply I
this
needed
is
his
going to
healing.
be ongoing.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
life in the Bible it says, it will be trouble. In this world
Yeah.
it will be trouble, and so we're not going to not see trouble.
No,
This is
no.
not going to be a
No, that's
smooth sailing.
unrealistic. No, 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 no. And the thing is like oh yeah, no. We're definitely gonna see stuff. And
It's
the
just
thing is,
how
yeah,
you deal
it's
with it.
stuff. And the thing is this is what I say to people too. Like saying that trauma's a one and done is unrealistic. That doesn't happen.
No.
You're going like I'm a trauma coach. I still get traumas, but once we start learning like tools like the journaling,
Yes.
praying,
Meditation.
meditation, EFT, we talk a lot about tapping here, you know,
Yep.
all of these different tools and different modalities and mindset
Yep.
through through it all makes such a difference when you literally are going through hell. And
Yes.
even though it's hard, and even though it really, really sucks, and I think sometimes people just suck,
Mm.
I can tell you
Mhm.
it is these tools that when I refer back to them, it keeps you out of an emotional withdrawal.
That's
You know,
correct.
it totally does.
That's
And
correct.
that makes all the difference when you're dealing with trauma.
That's right. Yeah, we live in a world where everyone speaks their own, mind with no filter.
Hmm.
And we're judged on everything. We're judged on our hair, our eyes, our clothes, everything.
Hmm.
And you have to really protect yourself. If social media is triggering to you, do something about it. Limit your followers, limit what pops up in your feed, or, delete your account if you feel like
Hmm.
it's not beneficial.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And get out a pen and a piece of paper and start to write.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I always say when you're writing, um, if you're not uncomfortable, then you're not digging deep enough.
Right? 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 Totally true. Totally
Yes.
true. And the thing is the writing will give you a place to still be safe,
Yes.
you know?
Exactly.
It's what it does. So, Cheryl, thank you so much for being with us today. What a great conversation and a wonderful tool to be helping people use. Where can people find you?
Oh, goodness. I'm all over the place. The website is bannermanbooks.com. And then under Amazon, you can just look up Cheryl Bannerman, and my author page will come up. And then Instagram, my handle is Bannerman Books 18. And then Twitter, you can find me at cbannerman01.
Go check her out, you guys, because she definitely has got some great tools for you if you're dealing with any type of trauma, any type of abuse, any type of betrayal. And lastly, like I said, if you guys would like a little one-on-one help, reach out to me and let's get a call scheduled and get you going. for sure, with some great tools to help you get into these spaces of healing as well. Cheryl, thanks so much for being here, and hopefully we can have you back soon.
What a great podcast show. I love it. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Okay, guys, from my heart to your heart, I'll see you on the other side. Bye. Hey guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me today and listening in on this podcasting episode. Don't forget to tune in next week. It's gonna